Hey everyone, ready to dive into something really cool? We're taking a closer look at finger-jointed solid wood flooring.
That's right.
I was checking out that article you sent. What is finger-jointed flooring? A complete guide for homeowners from Flooring 365. And
Yeah.
honestly, I was surprised by how much is going on with this type of flooring. I had no idea.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Most people think solid wood flooring has to be like those, long planks.
Right.
But finger-jointed flooring, it's a whole different approach.
Yeah, the article talked about how it uses all these shorter pieces of wood joined together.
Right.
Almost like a giant puzzle. At first, I have to admit, I was a little skeptical. How strong can that really be?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But the way those pieces fit together, those interlocking finger joints, they actually make it super strong. The tensile strength of a finger-jointed plank can be up to 40% higher than a solid piece of wood.
Whoa, hold on. Really?
It's true. Think of it like a bridge. They're built-in segments, all connected together. And that design gives them both strength and flexibility. Finger-jointed flooring works kind of the same way.
Oh, that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
So not only is it strong, but the article also said it's a really sustainable choice.
Absolutely. And it's sustainable in a few different ways. First off, they're using these shorter pieces so they can use up those wood remnants that might usually get tossed out.
Right.
Less waste. Plus, since it's solid wood, you can refinish it over and over. It'll last a really long time.
That's a really good point. I didn't even consider that. So it's durable. It's sustainable. But what about how it looks? To be honest, I'm kind of picturing something that looks well kind of pieced together.
And that's actually what makes it so visually appealing. You don't get that uniform look you see in regular planks. Figure-jointed flooring has all these variations in the grain and the color, like a natural patchwork.
So it's more like, I don't know, having a floor with a story, I guess. Kind of like those reclaimed wood floors everyone loves.
Exactly. Yeah. Every floor is one of a kind. It brings so much character to a space. But, we can't forget about the practical side of things. Remember what the article said about humidity? How it performs in places where the humidity changes a lot.
Oh, yeah. It said finger-jointed flooring is actually more stable than solid wood planks.
Right.
Especially in those areas with, there's big swings in humidity. That one really surprised me.
It's because those shorter pieces, they're less likely to expand and contract when the moisture levels change.
Yeah.
So if you live in a place, with crazy seasons, finger-jointed flooring can be a real game changer. In fact, you can even install it over radiant heating, something you can't always do with traditional planks.
Wow, I did not know that. That's pretty cool. Opens up a lot of possibilities. So we've got the strength, the sustainability, the unique look, and the stability. What about the cost, though? I guess using those smaller pieces would make it more affordable.
You're exactly right. Finger-jointed flooring is usually easier on the wallet than traditional solid wood planks. They're using those smaller pieces, often reclaimed, so it makes that beautiful solid wood look more affordable.
Okay, this is sounding better and better. But what about the installation process? Is it trickier because of all those smaller pieces?
Well, it's definitely best to leave it to the professionals.
Good to know. So if I'm getting this right, it's kind of like choosing between a classic tailored suit and a one-of-a-kind vintage find. They both have their own charm. But the finger-jointed flooring, it just seems to offer something a little extra,
I love that comparison. And, speaking of vintage finds, let's talk about the different wood species you can get in finger-jointed flooring.
Oh, yeah.
While you see the usual suspects like oak and maple, the construction method opens up some really cool options, particularly with reclaimed wood.
Ooh, now you're talking. So what kind of reclaimed wood are we talking about? What makes it so special?
Imagine walking on a floor made from reclaimed heart pine, salvaged from old factories and warehouses. It has such warmth, a patina, a history. You just can't replicate that with new wood.
That sounds amazing. So not only is it good for the environment to use reclaimed wood, but it also just adds so much character to a space. It's a win-win.
Exactly. And because they're using these smaller pieces, they can even incorporate wood from sources that you couldn't get long planks from.
Yeah.
Which means you might find some really unique and rare species in finger-jointed flooring.
Okay. I'm officially intrigued. This is turning out to be way more interesting than I thought. So we've covered a lot. Strength, stability, sustainability, cost, and even that touch of history with the reclaimed wood. What's next?
Well, we've only just scratched the surface. Now that we have a good understanding of what it is, let's get into the fun stuff and explore all those different finishes that can transform the look and feel of a finger-jointed floor.
Perfect. I'm ready for it.
Welcome back.
Okay, so now we're talking about the fun part, right?
Oh, yeah.
All the different finishes you can use to like really customize how a finger jointed floor looks.
Definitely. This
Yeah.
is where you can let your own personal style, shine.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What are some of the most common finishes for wood floors, and how do they change how the floor looks?
One of the most popular and versatile finishes is polyurethane.
Okay.
It's super durable,
Okay.
which makes it a great choice for, high traffic areas.
Yeah.
And it comes in a range of sheens from matte all the way to high gloss. So you can really control how much shine you want.
So if I wanted a really modern, sleek look, I'd probably go for that high gloss polyurethane.
Exactly. And on the other hand, if you prefer a more like rustic, understated vibe,
Right.
a matte or satin finish would be a better fit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, what about those oil finishes I've heard about? What's the difference between like an oil finish and a polyurethane one?
Oil finishes are known for their like warm, natural look and feel.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting on top of the wood like polyurethane does, oil finishes actually penetrate into the wood's pores.
Okay.
So they really enhance that natural beauty and create a richer, more nuanced color.
So it's almost like the oil becomes part of the wood itself.
Yeah, exactly. And over time, oil finishes develop a beautiful patina that adds a sense of age and character.
Oh, I like that.
It's like the difference between a brand new leather jacket and a vintage one that's been worn in for years.
Oh, I love that analogy. That like aged, worn look is definitely something I like. But are oil finishes as tough as polyurethane?
They are durable, but they do need a little more maintenance. You'll need to re-oil the floor every so often to keep it protected, which is something to keep in mind, depending on your lifestyle and how much time you want to spend on upkeep.
Right. Okay, good to know. So it's a trade-off, right? You get that warmth and character with an oil finish, but you got to be willing to put in a little more work to keep it looking good.
That's it. And there are other specialty finishes out there too. For example, there are hard wax oils.
Oh, yeah.
They give you the natural look of an oil finish, but with the extra durability of wax.
That sounds like a good balance. So are there any finishes that work especially well with finger-jointed flooring? Or does it just depend on what look you're going for?
It really comes down to your overall aesthetic.
Yeah.
But one thing to remember is that with all those variations in grain and color, finger-jointed flooring already have a lot of visual texture.
Right.
And certain finishes can really amp that up.
Yeah. So you could go with a finish that makes those variations pop even more.
Exactly. Or you could choose one that creates a more uniform look to minimize the contrast between the different pieces.
Right.
It all comes back to your style and the overall look of the room.
This is making me realize just how much there is to think about when choosing flooring. It's not just picking a color I like. There are all these elements that play together.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now that we've covered the finishes, let's switch gears and talk about installation.
Yeah, good idea.
I remember you saying it's usually best to hire a pro for installation.
Right.
What makes installing finger-jointed flooring different from other wood floors?
Well, because the planks are made of all those shorter pieces joined together, it's really important to have a perfectly level subfloor.
I see. So any like bumps or dips in the subfloor could mess with those interlocking joints.
Exactly. That's why prepping the subfloor correctly is crucial.
Uh-huh.
A professional installer will know how to check it out and make any adjustments so the installation goes smoothly.
Okay, that makes sense. So once you have that nice level subfloor, what are the ways to install finger-jointed flooring?
The two most common methods are nailing it down or gluing it down.
Okay.
Nailing is the traditional way to install solid wood, but gluing can be a good option if you have a concrete subfloor
Yeah.
or in situations where you just can't nail it down.
What about those floating floors I've heard about? Is that a possibility with finger-jointed flooring?
Floating floors aren't usually recommended for solid wood floors, including finger-jointed ones. With a floating floor, the planks just click together and kind of float over the subfloor.
So they're not attached directly.
Right. And while floating floors work fine for some types of flooring, like engineered wood or laminate solid wood, needs to be attached to the subfloor
Yeah.
to prevent any movement or warping.
Got it. So if I'm going with finger-jointed flooring, I'm either nailing it down or gluing it down, depending on what my subfloor's like.
Exactly. And this is another area where having a pro really pays off. They'll know the best way to install it for your specific situation.
I am learning so much from this deep dive. It's honestly making me rethink how I look at choosing flooring.
Yeah,
I used to just think about color and style, but now I realize there's so much more to it.
there really is. And we're not done yet. There's still more to learn about finger-jointed flooring. For example, we haven't even touched on the different grades of lumber used to make it.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize there were different grades. So what are they, and how do they change the quality of the flooring?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll definitely think of into next time. Stay tuned.
Okay, so tell me about these lumber grades. What does that even mean for finger-jointed flooring?
That's a great question. It's something a lot of people don't even realize is a factor.
Yeah.
But just like with regular solid wood, the grade of lumber they use in finger-jointed flooring makes a big difference in how it looks and how well it holds up.
So there are actually different levels of quality even within solid wood.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it like this. You could have two pieces of oak,
Uh-huh.
but one might have a tighter grain and fewer knots. That makes it look better, and it's probably stronger too.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So how do they decide, what grade the lumber is?
They have a system. The National Hardwood Lumber Association came up with it.
Okay.
And they use terms like clear, select, common, and rustic.
Okay.
Each grade tells you how much variation you'll see in the wood.
Oh, so like knots and mineral streaks and stuff.
Exactly. Things like that. Even the color and grain pattern can change depending on the grade.
So clear grade would be like the most uniform looking, right? With the fewest imperfections.
You got it. Clear grade is the top of the line. It's usually used for like fancy furniture and flooring where you want a really consistent look.
Makes sense.
And then there's select grade. That comes next. It allows for a few more natural variations. That was really popular for floors and homes.
What about those other grades you mentioned, common and rustic? Do they ever use those for finger-jointed flooring?
For sure. Common grade has more of those natural things going on like knots, color variation, even some small cracks sometimes. It's a good choice if you want a more rustic look, with lots of character.
Yeah, I like that.
And then there's rustic grade. That one really shows off the wood's imperfections. Knots, burls, unique grain patterns. It's like having a piece of art on your floor.
Wow. So just by picking a different grade, you can get a totally different look. I bet the grade affects the price too, right?
It definitely does. The higher the grade, the more it usually costs. But it's not always about getting the highest grade,
Yeah.
It's about finding the grade that fits your style and what you want to spend.
This is all so helpful. I'm seeing now that picking flooring is like any other design decision. There's a lot to think about.
I agree. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. It's not just about learning the facts about finger-jointed flooring.
Uh-huh.
It's about understanding how all these different things come together to create a space that's, truly your own.
So true. So before we wrap things up, let's bring it back to the listener for a second. What's the main thing they should take away from this deep dive? What should they be thinking about with finger-jointed flooring?
I think the biggest thing is that finger-jointed flooring, it really makes you rethink what solid wood flooring can be.
Yeah.
It's not just about those long planks anymore. It gives you so many options when it comes to sustainability, durability, affordability, and even design.
It's like a whole new way to think about wood floors. And I love that they often use reclaimed wood to make it, giving that wood a second life.
Exactly. And with all the different lumber grades and finishes out there, you can design a floor that really matches your style and the look of your space.
This deep dive has honestly changed my mind about finger-jointed flooring. I used to think it was just a cheaper version of solid wood.
Yes.
But now I see it as something really unique and special.
That's great to hear. I hope our conversation has given the listener some inspiration too. Maybe it's time to think about that flooring project in a new way.
Definitely. And before we say goodbye, I want to leave everyone with a question to think about. If you could create your own custom blend of wood species for a finger-jointed floor, what would it be and why?
That's a great question. I'm already picturing all the cool combinations.
Right. It really gets you thinking outside the box.
Definitely.
It makes you realize how artistic this type of flooring can be. Maybe it's a mix of reclaimed woods from different times, or a blend of light and dark woods to make a cool pattern. Let your imagination run wild.
That's the spirit. Well, I hope this deep dive has been helpful and that you're feeling inspired to explore the world of finger-jointed flooring.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, happy flooring.